All right, I'm going on one of my walks, and this is just something I do simply because I can. I just like being able to walk these streets where I'm at right now because, typically nobody bothers me. I'm not worried about anybody trying to rob me or some police officer trying to harass me. And, what it comes down to, if I really wanted some trouble, I know where to go to get in some trouble. But I don't want that. And so obviously you hear the noise in the background, the traffic, every footstep. I just don't have time to edit any videos and all that stuff. So all you have is my voice, because it's all about the points I'm about to make. And so the very first thing I want to talk about is that shooting that went on in Columbus, Ohio. That was a tragic. That was sad. And really the only people who should be upset and, grieving for that matter is the family. I feel like the media, everybody, including myself, really, everybody need to kind of give them their space, let them grieve in peace. I kind of don't like hearing about people trying to find out more about, the family business, like kind of what their flaws are, because you have two extremes going on. You got one side trying to vouch for that situation, saying that the cop had murdered that little girl. And then you got the other side. The other side is pretty much saying, hey, hadn't that cop shot that little girl was going to kill the individual she was trying to stab. You can go as far as saying maybe all of the above is true. But, just to speak on that situation, it was obviously sad. It was a sad situation. I hated that, that little girl brought a knife to the fight. When the cop showed up, he was put in a bad position because, he was damned if he did, he was damned if he didn't. Because hadn't he done nothing at all, and that little girl wound up puncturing maybe a lung, had she stabbed her good enough, yeah, that officer would have watched it, and there would have been a different uprising. And that's even if he done nothing, just because he's in uniform. And so you're going to hear a lot about accountability and things like that. I mean, really, you could just throw that out the window because you did have adults out there. Why didn't the adults stop that whole situation? People trying to talk about how the officer should have de-escalated. Well, he only had about 9 seconds to try to convince an individual who already made up her mind that she was going to stab someone. And the video says it all. And again, may she rest in peace. I wish she hadn't taken that action. I wish she hadn't taken it that far. But I gotta put this on the adults, the so-called adults, the so-called responsible adults who should have did something. Policing is not just done by the police. It should not be. People looking at, the role of policing as something that's responsible for law enforcement. That's their job. Okay? And for each officer, that's only their job for 8 hours out of the day. And I'm just going to tell you straight up, this is what kind of kills me about kind of how just our society in general is ran right now. There's a reason why you have, the left, the far left, the far right, and kind of the politics they try to put out there. One side wanting very small government, very little interference, while yet the other side, I'm just going to say, they want more of the government to be involved. Well, this is the big picture. Between being in law enforcement and in education, they have actually, to me, literally taken a role of what the parents should be taking. You know, they're kind of the fallout people. So basically, all the teachers, they're playing a role of the mothers of all our children, while the police officers are taking a role of that disciplinary dad. That's what this turned into. It's like the teachers and the police officers are more responsible for these young men and women than the parents are. And that situation, like a lot of other ones, I'm only talking about this shooting in Columbus because this is what everybody's talking about. This is what everybody's tripping about. And, you know, and again, it is unfortunate, you know. I'm just hoping that, you know, people look at it for what it is. You know, leave them people alone. You know, I don't want to judge that little girl who lost her life. You know, but at the same time, you know, looking at it from the officer's perspective, you know, there was pretty much 2 felonies that was going on at the same time. 2 felonies. You had a little girl with the knife, and we already know the outcome of that. But nobody's talking about the other felony. You had a grown man kicking the little girl in the head. Kicked the head like it was a football. That should have never happened. And the same person who kicked that little girl should have been the one to stop all this from happening. It should have just taken him alone. It should have taken him alone. And I know, you know, I was just saying to kind of chill out about, you know, talking about them folks like that, but, you know, I'm going to be the one to be real about it. I gotta say it the way it got to be said. You know, her blood is on that guy's hands. He should have been man enough to step up and stop all that from happening, and he didn't do it. And since he want to start kicking on little girls like that, when he do that, he need to do that to a real man. See how far you go with it. He need to do that to a real man, but I don't think he would. I seriously doubt it. That's just how I feel about it. I don't think he know it can't happen. And that's that same fool who's running his mouth to the police officer after, you know, he wound up, you know, pulling the trigger. Had he handled his business, none of that would have happened. None of that would have happened. Now, I've only seen 2 adults in that video myself. There may have been more adults, I'm not sure. But all it took was just that one. I'm not going to hear anything about, well, I couldn't stop him because somebody had a knife and all that. I mean, that would make it even more ridiculous. And so a lot of these situations like that one could have been handled. If everybody policed themselves like they should, a lot of these incidents won't even take place. You know, policing is just not just by the police. The act of policing is really by everybody. We got to put ourselves in check, and because of the fact that the police and these school teachers are being more of the parent than the actual parents, this is why we got this, you know, situation going on right now. We got a lot of parents who are not parents. They're not fit to be parents. You got a lot of people who create these situations, and now all of a sudden they're expecting other people to handle this for them. And as long as somebody's willing to actually step up and handle your situations, we're always going to have this. You know, we want to gloss over all this stuff with racism and this systemic this, and, you know, everything is systematically against black people. You know, black folks got to wake up and realize, you know, not everything is just going to be handed to you. And that's what's straight up. This is not like the days in the 1800s and before that where you wasn't even allowed to read. This is not, it's not those times right now. And people better acknowledge that. I can acknowledge a lot of things. I can acknowledge the fact that this whole country was built on a lie. I don't even believe in that Declaration of Independence. I really don't. That was a lie from the start. I just maybe, The Constitution applies today because of how everything evolved and all of the different changes. But look what it took. When that Declaration of Independence was signed, any and everybody who was enslaved should have been free. They should have had their own thing going. It took another 100 years. And nobody was able to explain to me the contradiction of, you fighting this war against the British to be free from them, to be free from their rule. But at the same time, you got people enslaved. They couldn't even have their own last name. And it would even make me mad when I watch a movie about slavery, I become a racist myself. And that's just for real. Any of my white friends, I don't want them around me. Because I don't feel like being friendly. Folks just gotta, again, we gotta accept everything. I mean everything for what it is. And I don't like any of it. I can't tell the next person how to feel, but all those things I just said, you just gotta acknowledge it. White folks, if you want to talk about from the very beginning, you gotta own what you started. This country was built on greed. It was built on a lie. And it's going to take generations to make up for it. That's really what it comes down to. Is it's a long process. You can say that the black man, black woman is so far behind because of what happened at the beginning, and it could be true. I mean, it is true. Let's just call it for what it is. It's true. But spending your time just wanting to be upset about everything we already know is not helping you. It's not helping you. This kind of reminds me of that individual who just want to lay in a bed with a bunch of napkins, just blowing his or her nose and just crying, and that's all they want to do with the lights off. The damage is done. The damage is done. It's kind of like, if you lose a finger or something like that, that finger is gone. The only way we can make up for it, you lose a limb. If you got the know-how, put a prosthetic on there, and you got to move on. We don't have a choice on that. We could still be upset, but you got to be moving forward while you're upset. That's what I want to see my people do. All this marching, burning down, trying to loot, and going and Target and some of these other stores. And what are you getting out of these stores? I mean, if you're gonna call that reparations, you still in a stereo or whatever it is, and that's reparations. You mean to tell me, even if it's $1,000, that's gonna make up for 400 years of being owned by a whole nother race? Is that really what we were? That's not gonna cut it. The best thing you can do, educate yourself better than what you are right now. That's really all we can do. All this marching up, that's, to me, that marching up and down the street and all that stuff, it brings attention, but that's not enough doing. It really ain't. It's not enough doing. I've been tired of that from the beginning. And let me just tell you like this. Just ask yourself this one question. We all know about slavery. At least we all think we know. History is never accurate to begin with, as far as written history. But how you really think slavery ended? Were all those enslaved individuals marching? It didn't work that way. You know, if you wasn't allowed to read, just to do some basic things, you know, having the ability to assemble and protest, that wasn't allowed. So how was slavery ended? You did have a few smart brothers and a few smart sisters up in there with some other help, and they dismantled that from the inside. And I'm being careful when I say dismantle. You know, I'm just talking about the dismantling of the oppression of blacks. You know, I'm talking about that part. That was real systemic racism. That was real. That was capitalism. Unfortunately, you know, at its best, because every bit of labor, free labor that is, that was at the, you know, at the cost of every black man, every black woman. It was profit. Yeah, so all that stuff happened. All that stuff. And we've been talking about this, you know, basically, you know, pretty much for centuries right now. What this march is gonna do? You know, these marches ain't doing nothing. I don't believe in trying to be accepted by a whole nother race. You know, I don't. That's just personally, that's just not my style. If I had to speak for all my people, I don't need us to sit up there and march up and down somewhere to be accepted. Person I want to respect you, oh well. And you just realize you do got people who respect you anyway. This goes back to the days of slavery. And you know, the truth is, you know, people actually own, and you know, I don't like to say own people, because there's another little side thing that kind of bothers me. Another little side point here. You know, I don't like when blacks accuse another black person of having that slave mentality. You putting down your own people when you say that. Do you really think that those individuals who were enslaved back then called themselves slaves? You really think they wanted to be enslaved? They didn't want to be in that situation no more than you and me would have wanted to be in that situation today. People died trying to escape. You had revolts. You had riots even back then. So in other words, you know, they weren't having it even back then. Yes, they were at a significant advantage, despite the fact that they were the ones who are actually physically producing the resources. They weren't having it. You know, those who were enslaved back then, that's the real ones. They're the ones who put themselves out there. They're willing to die to be free. They're the ones who handle their business. They're the ones who went through what we only read about. That includes myself. So this business about, you know, you telling a nice person, well, you got that slave mentality. You want to stay on the plantation. You know, either you the house Negro or the field Negro. You know, look, they both wanted the same, and they wasn't having it. Nobody, 100% of them. I don't have to be there to know this. 100% of them. They didn't want to be there. They wasn't, you know. They looked at themselves as men and women. Just like the so-called people who was trying to run them, own them. Yeah, even when they didn't know how to read and write. They knew how to be a man. They knew how to be a woman. I just wish people just stop talking down. I'm talking about my people. Stop talking down to your own people like that. That's just for real. Because all you basically doing when you say, hey, you got that slave mentality, you just being racist with your own people. Those who were enslaved, that's the real ones. All I see out here is a bunch of irresponsible individuals. That's what's for real. You can't even, not even trying to take care of your own kids. Because back in them days, wasn't nobody trying to have an abortion. Wasn't nobody trying to put whatever's in their system, make them half crazy. They wasn't doing all that. They was all about family back in them days. Why we ain't doing that today? All we can do is scream and kick and loot. We want to march, but we're not even handling our own business. It's like when we get what we want, we're just going to stop crying. It's like putting a pacifier in your mouth. What happens after when you stop crying and marching? What happens, okay, we take all the racist cops out of there. What happens after that? Why the police is still being called? We want, I got to bring that word back up. Accountability. Accountability, I mean, if we're going to hold some more people accountable, you also got to hold whoever made that phone call accountable too. That's just like right now. I'm walking up the street right now. I'm walking while black. I live in the same neighborhood. Now, I may actually have a neighbor looking at me right now like, I see this suspicious person. He's tall and black, and that's all you gotta know. You need to come take care of him. And he looks dangerous. Just those words alone. So when that officer comes up and approaches me, he's just doing his job. I may not like the situation I'm in, and that officer may not like the situation he's in. He's going off of that caller's words that it's an emergency. And I'm just going for a walk. And hopefully, once that officer finds out, look, here's my ID. I'm not tripping out. Whatever you ask me to do, I'm doing it. If you need me to put my hands up, my hands is up. And all I'm just saying, for that individual who decided to call and make a big mess out of that, something should happen to that person. We never talk about the callers because they're the ones who put this in motion. You just got to remember, police officers, as far as their positions, they're foot soldiers. Pretty much when someone says, hey, go get them, that's their job. Mostly everything they do is off of someone else's orders or directive, even if it's from the caller. Whenever someone says there's something dangerous going on, they have to go over there and handle that situation. I'm not for, I'm not trying to get into it with nobody. You can say I'm taking a risk right now. The street lights are on, but there's certain areas, on the street that's pretty dark, and I'm just walking through it. But again, I'm just doing this because I can. All right, I'm doing this because I can. Some people they might want to eyeball me, but if I'm not doing them nothing, All they gotta do is mind their businesses like I'm doing. But again, I've been walking these streets, and I'm talking about the specific area where I am. I know where the trouble is. It's the reason why I'm not over there. As long as I stay where I'm at, for the most part, I'm straight. But with this political climate we have right now, you know, it's more than, you know, gotten out of hand. You know, especially with the social media. You know, every little thing gets triple the exposure, quadruple. And, you know, I feel like, you know, going back to that Ohio shooting, I kind of feel like that opened up a can of worms because, you know, again, like I said, that situation, it backfired on the media. They try to put a spin on it, right? Most of the media was wrong about what they were reporting. Then with the Foster family, I know that much, you know, you're starting to air out all of their problems and dysfunctions. You know, me talking about this right now, you know, I shouldn't be. You know, hopefully, you know, when I look back, you know, I didn't say anything too bad about that little girl. Now, whoever that guy was, I don't give a damn about. Like I said, let him come over and, you know, let him come kick a real man. That's how I feel. But other than that, you know, I just want to emphasize that, you know, we need to leave these families alone. Whenever there's a man who's actually walking just like I'm walking right now, and some cop decide to pull up on me, don't even say anything and just start shooting me. So I'm pointing at myself because, you know, this would be the time, you know, it would happen. Now, every single, I'm gonna say 99%, except for I want to kind of point them out. I'm just Tamir Rice. I felt like he got a raw deal, you know. I really do feel like he kind of. I wish they handled that different. I watched the video and everything. I felt like, you know, just based on, you know, my eye test, he wasn't a danger to anyone else. And you know, again, I just wish he made it through. I really do. I'm gonna leave it at that with him. But going back to what I was saying, you know, 99% of every one of these incidents that people are, you know, marching behind and making a lot of noise over, you know, a lot of these people, they're resisting. They're not following instructions. And a lot of them, you know, if you're not following instructions at home, you're not used to following instructions, it's going to be a bad result. You know, it starts somewhere. I'm not talking about the breakdown of communication, the breakdown of, you know, just some simple procedures. And it's one-sided because you do have some officers, you know, they don't know how to talk to people. A lot of them don't know how to talk to people. And these same officers, you know, without the uniform, they're just like you and me. You know, they're just regular people. You know the type of individual who's hard-headed, you can't talk to them. You know, if you happen to tell them right when they're wrong about something, they'll actually get upset at you. Maybe even want to fight you. And you do have those types of individuals that's in uniform. So it's hard to weed out some of these types of individuals, especially if they're racist and things like that. It is. I'm just putting it out there. Yeah, they out there. You got some terrible individuals. You do. You got some terrible individuals, and I don't get. I'll never get why certain officers they take up from so much. You do have people who get away with a lot. And the big challenge is, it's like now that they're in the force and they've been there, how do you get them to change their ways? You know that saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I mean, when you have an individual who does the things that they do and they're used to doing it, I mean, there's not very much you can do about it. All right, it's just not much you can do about it. Even on the street, if you run into an individual who's been arrested 20 times and he's never followed commands all 20 times, I don't think he's going to just listen to you any different than the other person. Just maybe you can have a different approach if you know how to talk to people. If you know how to talk to people. I'm talking about, I'm talking to the new rookie officers out there. If you know how to talk to somebody, and really that's with any job, when you have to actually communicate with people, when you're a good people person, that should make your job much easier. I don't care where you're at. But some people, it's not cut out for that. And that's been shown, I'll never understand myself, I've never actually seen it in my lifetime until now when you had that one officer who pulls out her gun instead of the taser. I've held both weapons before. Not only they look different, they actually feel different. It has a different weight to it. All those things. But when you're in the heat of the moment, you're basically an autopilot. And, people just gotta realize that. That's all I'm saying. You just gotta realize that. Just so happened when she put herself in autopilot, it turned fatal. And that's for that family. I'm not, I don't want to judge that kid's life and things like that. It's time for that family to grieve. And, like I said, if it's anybody who's going to be upset, the family always gets the pass, all right? They always get a pass. That goes for George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, all of them. And so, I can just only hope that, again, everybody just kind of, it's not like I'm saying, hey, everybody needs to hold hands and have a sing-along. I know that's not going to happen. But, at the same time, though, I mean, I just need to have everybody to kind of really see reality for what it is. We got to accept, more like acknowledge. I don't want to say accept. Acknowledge reality for what it is. We're not doing that. As for my people, I feel like, we're just content with just being angry. Being angry, leads to depression. And obviously depression really just leads to you not taking the appropriate action. And I mean for yourself. And so, we gotta do a better job of, keeping our composure. I'm talking about just as a whole. I don't want to judge any individuals, even though, I'm going to look back. I know I was doing a lot of judging on certain individuals, but I'm just calling it the way it is. People do it to me all the time, and I don't like it. The truth, it stings me a lot. And so, for me, whenever someone tells me the truth about myself, even though I'm not going to like it, I want to make sure I don't have that feeling to happen again. I don't like that sting of me just should have known better about something, right? And I just totally just screwed it up. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't thinking at all, and somebody had to point it out. And so I want to make sure that nobody basically put me on blast like that again. That's all it is for me. I don't want that feeling to happen to me twice. But folks gotta, at this point, with this political climate, again, even if everything gets fixed, I'm talking about you take away all the bad cops and this and that. The black on black crime, that's for real. And I'm actually just disappointed. You got this organization out there who always want to put the police officers on blast every single time. But you're not talking about the everyday problems that even people like myself dealt with. I remember the days I had to walk my mother up the street just so she can check on my grandmother. I wasn't worried about the police. Period. I was worried about either a stray bullet or somebody else just trying to just do something to me or, anybody who I'm close to. And it's my own people. And I'll tell you straight up. There's a reason why a lot of people do get killed. It's because of retaliation. People do things to other people, and they don't care how they're affected. What about, and this is one of the situations, you're at a funeral, and people decide to shoot at you while you're at a funeral. You can't even grieve without some type of tension happening. Now, I was just at my own relative's funeral. And, I never liked the feeling of having to grieve myself, but, I did at the beginning of the year. And, man, it was a terrible feeling. And for a moment, I had on my mind, what if somebody decided to come up in here or do a drive-by to start shooting at us? I can guarantee there's going to be another side of me that I would never want to see come out, because I'm going to be looking for a payback. All I'm going to see is red. And so I'm saying that because what I'm kind of pointing out has happened to a lot of people. Once you get a person at that point, especially like you're a young kid and you see your mother get killed or your father or somebody, all you see is red. And for the person who pulled the trigger, it's nothing for them. And it's a reoccurring thing. It's a loop. So I'm seeing these marchers. They spent so much time. It's tunnel vision. We're talking about this police brutality. I don't want to hear anything about, you trying to put a spin on, well, we got to do one thing at a time. And it's more like what you don't need to do. You don't need to get into the stuff that people get into, that is trouble. If you're not an addict right now, you don't need to be putting that in your body. I'm talking about them drugs. You don't need to be putting that in your body. They got other ways to make money. If you want to rap about whatever, I hear a lot of those lyrics, how they talk about how they hustle 24/7. Why can't you hustle the legal way? And that's straight up. You can grind and hustle. You know, when you selling, you running from the police and all that stuff. That's how you get your workout in. But you can't do that legally. Where's that motivation at? How come I can't see that motivation when you're in school? I want to see that same hustle and grind when you're in school. But ain't nobody rapping about that. Ain't nobody talking about that. You know, now I'm going to finally, call out this organization. I'm talking about BLM. I mean, they say it was like probably the biggest movement in this country's history or something like that, just based on numbers. But to me, it's the biggest disappointment too. They just missed the mark. It's the reason why I never care to follow them. This is just me. You know, Black Lives Matter, I'm pretty sure, done a very good job of, being a loud voice on particular issues. And really, it's just that one issue, police brutality. But it's done a terrible job everywhere else. I mean, I'm just disappointed that they never address the other problems of our people. Never addressed it. You know, all they could do is point out other people's failures and mistakes and, not our own. And it's, like I said, it's just a shame. I never followed them. I never care to follow them. In fact, every time I hear about anything Black Lives Matter, I don't even care. I mean, yeah, it's a 3-word slogan that's been, put on a loop. That's like me just saying right now, all black people good. That could be a new slogan right there. All black people good. All black people great. We all know that. And I'm talking about amongst black people, really amongst any people. Yeah, we all know Black Lives Matter. Okay, it's like, tell me something I don't know. What I do know is that there wasn't a single march that I know of in any neighborhood whenever it's a black on black problem. Let's not just say black on black crime, but black on black problem. It would have been nice to have a march to get some of these guys off the street. And for those who belong in school, and I'm talking about the young people who are not in school, walking these streets, they should have been out marching and making sure the streets are clear. Nobody did that. And that's just straight up. The only time I had maybe a little bit of respect for Black Lives Matter was literally when it first emerged, because of Trayvon Martin. Now, what happened to him, to this day, that was a tragedy. But that was misleading too, because Zimmerman was not a police officer. This was not police brutality. This was a murder, and the suspect got away. I actually remember seeing the first marches on TV. The original colors they had was a banner. It was black and gold. And that kind of stuck to this day. It's more like it's black and yellow now, but it was the actual metallic gold I've seen. It was this black banner with metallic gold letters. I mean, at least that's one of the original banners I've seen on the news. But a lot of things about Black Lives Matter is fake to me. I know they mean well, but a lot of it kind of lost this. It became out of touch. I think Black Lives Matter lost its own meaning, and again, it just seemed like the only momentum they were just trying to gain and stick with was police brutality. It could have done a lot more, when a platform has become nationwide and, has even affected some countries around the world. They didn't affect everybody, but they've gotten the attention of enough people. But I think they failed miserably. And that's just what I feel about them. Like I said, they have actually they've done a lot of good. They've done a lot of good, but not enough good. That's just kind of what I feel about it. It's just time for them, like Donald Trump said, to stand down and stand by. Just kind of let these people somehow, if you're not going to help other black people, instead of just waiting for another black man to get shot, if you're not going to help other black people that's not in a police situation, stand down and just step away from everything. That would be my direct message to Black Lives Matter. And as far as the original founders, I mean, as far as I know, they hiding out right now. I know one of them stepped completely away a long time ago. The other one, basically, this is based on what the media is saying, she cashed out. She saw the writing on the wall. I just think all three of them kind of just seen that, hey, the direction this organization is going was not what they originally was thinking. They don't have as much control as even I thought they had. And so, like I said, one of them cashed out. The other two, as far as I actually see, they just stepped down and just backed away from it, period. And so now, this thing is just kind of running around with no head. And it's been that way from the beginning, as far as I'm concerned. And so, it was always, like I said, Black Lives Matter was always, I'm going to say, in today's time, it's a joke. If they're not going to change or make the necessary changes within itself to actually do some good, because I haven't seen any true changes, not even with the police. The only thing you've done with the police is really put an even bigger wedge between law enforcement and the citizens they're supposed to protect. That's pretty much it. It's making a bigger division. The trust is at a low right now. Unnecessary trust. That's the only thing Black Lives Matter did. A lot of things was falsified as far as I'm concerned. I'm just being straight up about it. Now, for those individuals that's actually doing the work, boots on the ground, hats out to them. And I would just tell them, just to be straight up, I'll just tell them, look, y'all need to step away from that and start a better organization, name it something different, step away from BLM. Yeah, I just said it. Step away from BLM. Be about helping other black lives, black individuals, black families. Be about that. You need a different mission statement. And the best thing to do, like I said, this organization is tainted. You just got to step away from it. I don't see any good in it. The money that was made, it didn't really go nowhere. I haven't heard, you would think, with all that money that was made, you would think, BLM should be proud to say, hey, we've given away this much money to this family, or we've been able to build this school. None of that happened. To this day, none of that happened. Why is that we do hear more about these houses as one co-founder want to buy than buying somebody else's house? You got a lot of homeless black people too. Why wasn't a shelter being built? I mean, this pandemic is still going on. A lot of questions that can't be answered. I mean, look, I feel like, the cat is out of the bag from a long time ago. I'll say from at least year two. You know, I haven't been hearing anything about I gotta say his name, Kaepernick. Ever since he kneeled for the national anthem, I got some questions about that too. Now, my stance originally was this, he had his purpose, and he was just trying to fulfill it. If I see him walking up the street, it's not like I'm gonna walk away from him. I think he's a cool dude. It just seemed like when it come down to them dollars, it seemed like more like green dollars matter instead of Black Lives Matter. You gotta tie all that stuff in. You got to. You gotta tie all that stuff in. Because when it comes to green, black and white don't matter. And unfortunately, I'm going to say it, lives don't either when it comes to green. See, the reason why I brought up Kaepernick, and this is a question, I'm going to raise this. I've been thinking about this so much. People say he started kneeling because, he lost his spot or, he was injured really. And so he was on the sideline. He wasn't the starting quarterback. And so basically during those, wasn't it the last few games? Doesn't matter when, but that was the same year he started to kneel. Now, when he was in that Super Bowl, you got to remember, he was a quarterback in that Super Bowl. I just wonder had he would have been able to kneel then. Had he wouldn't have gotten hurt at all, and he was a starting quarterback, they're in the playoffs, headed to the Super Bowl, would he still kneel? That would probably be one question I would confront him with if we was face to face. I'm not saying he wouldn't, but I wonder if he actually would. I really wonder if he would. Because I see all these people kneeling right now in sports. What is it doing? At first I thought it was because of the the national song. How racist it may have been. I mean, even when I'm at games, honestly, it's like sometimes I stand for the flag and sometimes I don't. And when I do, to be honest, I'm just in a moment of, the competition. Just being honest with you. I'm just in that moment. I'm really more about, seeing who wins. And that's pretty much it. I'm just being honest. As far as I never read up on the history of the national song, any of those, any of them, any of it. Even how the flag was made, things like that. But we all know anything pre-1900s was racist, all right? A lot of it's going to have racist, origins. And I do get how, some of those things can probably change. And I know over the years, some things have changed. And now there's this other thing, people like to call it tokenizing, right? For example, I've kind of seen, and I'm not much of a comic guy, but like the Captain America, people want to see a black Captain America, a black Batman, and a black Superman, and a black whoever was white as a character. They want a black version of it. I'm not really for that. I'm not trying to, this whole thing about tokenizing all these different characters and movie stars. I'm not trying to be original. Just be original. I mean, I don't get just that really. I don't care even if it's the reverse role. I don't want to see the white version of Shaft. I don't want to see the white version of Dolomite or any of them. I could think of a lot of people, different characters. Can you imagine a white Mr. T on the A-Team. I mean, you're looking back at all these different characters. I mean, I'm not trying to see all that. All the characters, how I've known them to be, and you got to remember, these are all imaginary anyway. Let it be. And if you're going to start new, keep it original. Now, one of my personal favorite cartoons is Black Dynamite. Can you imagine seeing a white Dynamite? For those who don't know about Black Dynamite, you might want to look that up. That's not exactly old, but I just love the character. But just be original. Black people, I'm talking about black people, be original. Stop trying to fit in. Anything I got to tell my own people, stop trying to fit in. And this is what I've been saying the whole time. Stop trying to march to be accepted. Stop trying to scream and, trip out about the fact that, hey, we don't have a black version of this and that. I mean, look, even with Mount Rushmore, they got a lot of other mountains out there. When Mount Rushmore was originally constructed, all right, this is based on what I kind of read up. They didn't start with a big budget. And any of these rich black folks, you got to realize we do have some black millionaires. We even have some black billionaires. If y'all wanted to have your own kind of a Mount Rushmore of civil rights leaders and things, y'all can do that. Just go find a mountain out there, put together a budget, and make something happen. Why can't we do that? I mean, what's the problem with just being able to get together, do your own thing? I mean, I don't care. I mean, even if you want to go out and find some island and call it your own country, do it. I mean, there's a reason why the United States is as free as it is, because you're free to do what you want to. And I feel like we don't even know, and this is what's embarrassing. We don't even know how free we really are. We don't even know how free we really are. That's what gets me right now. We don't know how free we really are. We gotta realize, I feel like when, just going back to me saying, when you talk down to another one of your fellow black man or black woman, you have that slave mentality. You Uncle Tom, you a coon, you this and that. You just being a racist, you talking down to your own people. And that shouldn't feel good. There gotta be another way of addressing somebody and addressing your problem. That's a lot of things I don't like from a racial standpoint. I'm gonna be straight up about it. But it ain't about my own personal feelings. But this is me just taking a step back and just looking. We gotta stop talking down to our own people. We gotta realize what we have. We gotta focus on actually just knowing the fact that, yeah, we probably got whoever, probably got a lot of, you probably got 100 books around you. Pick up and read those books because you can. And yes, that's when you have to remind yourself, once upon a time, that wasn't even allowed. Pick up the book, put the needle down. Because nobody's making you take a drug, nobody making you do any of that stuff. But we don't even know how free we really are. I don't think we understand how free we really are. And I don't think, to be frank, I don't think we really care. But whenever something doesn't go our way, whenever something's not handed to us, that's when we're the loudest. We're the loudest when we want to point out what's happening to other people. And that's what it really is. Because really, going back to Black Lives Matter, they speak the loudest when a black man is being, pretty much killed by an officer. That's not even talking about getting beat up. When they get killed, that's when they're the loudest. It always happened to be a black man who's killed. That's when they're the loudest. And it's kind of like when they're doing this, they're doing it from a distance. That's like me, I was just talking about me walking up and down this neighborhood I'm in right now. That's like me talking about the next neighborhood. See, all those people are fools. It's dangerous around there. Oh, you heard about the other person getting, shot up. Oh, that's sad. That shouldn't happen. There's savages out there. I could do that all day long, talk about how bad the neighborhood is and this and that. All I'm doing is running my mouth. And that's why I got to check myself sometimes, because it's like, if I'm not doing anything to help that neighborhood out, I need to stop running my mouth about them. That's when I need to mind my own business and really just hope that it works out. But that's what I just said right there. It's pretty much Black Lives Matter as a whole. All they're doing is talking about from a distance. Oh, look, that cop just killed a black man. Let's get loud about it. Let's call him out. And what's sad, they don't even know if they don't even have to know what the situation is. Because a lot of those situations could be avoided. Went over this already, but a lot of those situations can be avoided. And that's another thing too about my people. All right, if you know what's going to get you shot, why do we keep doing the same things that we know is going to get us shot? If that's the case, I'm talking about for the potential black man who can potentially get hurt. It's like, I'm giving you the answers to the test, and you're not even looking at the sheet. If an officer gives you instructions to do certain things, you have to do it for your safety and the officer's safety. That's really it. It's really a one question test. You get that right, you pass. You live. Everybody want to be hard headed. And what it comes down to, if you're not used to listening to people at home, I know you're not going to listen to, the cop out there. And maybe a lot of these people look at an officer, especially a white officer, as the stepdad you don't want in the house. And it's kind of like an automatic resentment. I do believe, I'm not saying that's like 100%, but I think that's a part of it. Going back to what I said originally. This is society today. Our school teachers have taken over as our mothers, and the police has taken over as our disciplinary fathers. And our parents are just beside us. That's it. They have become the parents of our society. We allowed this to happen. You gotta realize those teachers are watching your kids 8 hours out of the day, sometimes even more, if there's extracurricular activities. And anytime any man gets out of line, that's who come sometimes crashing through the door. And that's what's real. And when people overstep, if a teacher is not so-called teaching your child enough, then that teacher gets blamed for, a child not having success. Teachers do get blamed. They do get blamed. Let's not be fake about that. It's a two-way street, even with teachers. Either they're going to allow them to have the knowledge and be successful because of that teacher, or they failed them because they couldn't, number one, they could not pass all their exams. They could not get accepted to probably, a lot of their choice colleges that, they're trying to get into. It's their fault. And parents, lots of parents do blame them for that. And right now, the father or you want to say stepfather, whatever, however you want to call it. Talking about the police, the fathers of our society, they're getting a bad rep. You know, it's kind of the equivalent of that dad who taking one too many, giving him kind of one too many hits with the belt, and that last hit was so hard that it left a red mark. That's kind of the equivalent. It's like, okay, you went too far, you're overstepping, and maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. Whether it be in the schools or on the streets, we have to carry ourselves better than what we're doing. We just have to. We're not doing it. We're not handling our business the way we should. We're just not. I wish, for myself personally, I wish I made different moves and I would be in a better position. I'm not struggling. All right. I'm actually, I consider myself a pretty well-educated person. Can't tell, but, I'm well-educated enough. I know what's going on around me. I know how to carry myself. I always have. I do lots of things. I just made sure that not only I have the intellect, but I have a lot of physical skills. I love making things. I just, I'm self-taught with a lot of things. And this is just about having that drive and actually wanting to know how to do these things. It's like stepping up to the plate. When that fastball come at you, you got to at least swing at it. But we're not even doing that. We're at the plate. Your turn to bat. You got your back turned to the umpire, just tripping on him about the last pitch. I mean, look, you can't worry about that. Be focused on the game and play it right. And I don't want to say we can't do that. We're choosing not to. We're actually just, the game we're actually playing, it's not even a game. The game has been stopped right now. This is society. And we gotta, again, we gotta focus on, just some of the real basic things. I already mentioned, policing, the act of policing. Remember, it's not just with the police. The act of policing, ing. Okay, as a reminder, policing is also done by the parents, guardians, and mentors. And not doing that. I mentor people myself. It's not an everyday thing for me, but whenever I get the chance to teach somebody, when they're around me, they carry themselves accordingly. And what I mean by that, you will respect me, and anybody around me, you will respect them too. Talking about all the young kids out, that's just, when you're around me, that's how it goes. Now, when you're away from me, I can only trust that you're in that same environment. But we're not policing our own homes. Instead of calling the police when something, disruptive is going on in our homes, we're not doing our jobs. Starting from when they're little kids. No kids are born evil. I don't believe that. No kids are born evil. It's not like I see this little baby and he or she has, red eyes and all that little baby wants to do is just do evil things. We're all a product of the environment we came from. So, as an adult, we create the environment, and those kids, they just live in it. Just like this world, just like this society. We just live in it. It's what we make it. And what I'm saying right now, I mean, it's just not good. It's just definitely not perfect. So what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Like I said, Black Lives Matter. They need to dissolve itself. For all those real activists within Black Lives Matter, again, Always. I tip my hats off to y'all. Y'all need to actually branch out, rename yourselves, rebrand yourselves, and keep marching. Keep moving forward. Keep fighting for social justice. Don't give up that. But Black Lives Matter needs to dissolve itself. It's tainted. It needs to go away. I'm sorry. I have very little respect for Black Lives Matter because, as far as I'm concerned, it did nothing. I'm not seeing any result. I'm not even seeing any road that's being paved at all for any results to even happen. Nothing. I'm not seeing anything. I mean, how about you? Do you see anything that's worth, noting? I'm not seeing anything. Again, there's no Black Lives Matter school, no Black Lives Matter charity. Just to even start something. I mean, if you're able to raise as much money that's been raised, I'm pretty sure there could have been something to the side that would have helped families. Nothing. There's nothing. Like I said, if Black Lives Matter was to shut down right now, which I wouldn't care, but if it's shut down right now, I'm not going to see anything left behind except, what's been painted on the streets. Black Lives Matter. That's about it. That's the only thing that I'm going to see that's been left behind. This march, the only thing, if you want to call it a success, you got that one officer convicted of 3 different charges on George Floyd. And I'm not even going to credit Black Lives Matter for that, to be honest with you. It's really just a bunch of angry black folks, angry white folks too, angry folks, period, that made that happen. The man was guilty before the trial even started, and I'm going to leave it at that. Black Lives Matter probably would take the credit of that, but, you take a step back, what it really is just a bunch of people feeling sorry for us. I can't go out like that. I don't want to be able to be successful at something or be given something because somebody felt sorry for me. I'm not comfortable with that. If I'm going to stand up for something, I don't need nobody help like that. Not like that. Don't get me wrong. If I'm really struggling, if I'm actually struggling, yes, I don't mind reaching my hand out to say, hey, help me out of this hole that I'm in. And I would appreciate it. I'm going to make sure I don't dig myself like that again, dig a deep hole for myself like that again. I'll make sure of that. That's straight up. I'll make sure of that. But I'm not trying to, work hard to get somebody's attention just so they can feel sorry for me, just so I can get stuff. And I don't know how to say it. I got too much pride for that. I can't go out like that. I just can't. I cannot do that. That's just the way it is for me. I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. And I hope all my people just stand up and just not want to just be accepted like that. Don't get me wrong. That kind of came out wrong. It's nothing wrong with knowing that you're accepted by everybody. But I'm not going to work that damn hard. If somebody don't like me because I'm black, so be it. So be it. The point behind that is, I can't make somebody like me. Just like how you can't make me not like somebody else who I may have gotten into it with. Sometimes that's just the way it is. Racism is always going to be around. And there's another reason why Black Lives Matter need to, just disassemble. Because racism has gotten so profitable today, it lost its meaning. Nowadays, people are getting rich off of it. And the more richer they get, the less focused they are on what should be the big picture. I mean, the media is profiting off of this. That's why all the headlines, every time a black person gets shot, that is the title, just to get you to read their news feed. Black man gets shot. Black teen gets shot. I don't think I've heard in years officer saves black man from getting shot, or officer saves little girl's life. I have not seen a title like that yet. If you've seen that title, send that to me. Don't email it. Mail it to me. Knock on my door, and you print that out. You show me. I haven't seen it. So I got a problem, pretty much with everything. All this, you talk about the left, you talk about the right. I mean, honestly, I can't. I gotta have my own interpretation. I can't just listen to what somebody has to say no more without me putting my own eyes on it. I got to believe my own eyes and my own wisdom. You just can't believe nobody no more. I mean, it's hard to do because everybody, almost nobody, whenever they're telling you some kind of a story or anything, they don't explain anything to you 100% accurate anyway. Even myself, I don't have that photographic memory like everybody else unless I have a video or something. So all I'm just saying is nobody's going to be perfect when they're explaining some situation. You tend to fill in blanks, but what the media is doing right now, this is not just filling in blanks with a bunch of guesses and they're actually just manipulating. That's what this is. This is not just, it's beyond just guessing. You can actually guess and be wrong and all that stuff, but when you're manipulating, this is done purposely. I don't like that too much. And for all those racist white folks out there, man, like the KKK and all of them, if BLM still out there, once y'all go march, wherever you see a KKK rally, once you go march through there, I haven't heard that yet. I would have looked forward to actually seeing that. But I think that would start a race war, wouldn't it? And y'all can have it out. Find find a wide open field and go hash that out. If that's what it's really about, But you got some, again, some of these white folks out there, I already told you, this country is built on a lie, number one. This country is built on greed. Capitalism is damn sure not perfect. But I'll be lying to you, if I told you I don't want to be rich, I'll be lying to you. Because me being rich, that just means, as far as me worrying about paying rent the next day or, paying a bill on time, that won't necessarily be the case for me. I just don't like being stressed out with money to begin with, so I manage mine the best way I can. So if I'm rich, and this is my thinking, I want to worry less, but that could be the opposite. But bottom line is, I don't mind having the nicer things, but my mentality is this. This is why I try to develop as many skills as I possibly can. If I can't afford something, I'll just build it. I'll try to make it. I'll try to at least actually replicate it, and it'll be mine anyway. I can't make everything, but that's just my mentality. If I can't buy it, I'll try to make it. That's the best. That's really my best antidote. But again, back to this country, how it was built, how it came about. This whole country is built on contradiction. And that's a part, and it leaked over in the black community, amongst blacks. That greed, that manipulation, all that stuff, unfortunately, that's in us too. We don't treat each other right. And it's almost like a double whammy. Certain white folks don't treat us right, and some of our own people don't treat us right. I've experienced that personally. I used to work at these little mom and pop places, right? I remember this white couple. They didn't treat me right. They was talking down to me. You know, they would treat me like, hey, you do this, you do that. Just talk to me like I was a teen, but they'll talk to me like I was 5. My first job, I was 14. When I first, I was in 11th grade, I was 16. Got a different job at another mom and pop place, but this was black owned. This fool, he treated me no different. And I can go as far as saying that he treated me just as bad. I'm just going to say just as bad. Because I'm not going to put one over the other. But they were in the same category. Basically, they got a hold of it a little bit, talking about making their own money and everything. The rest didn't matter. When you're at a certain position, basically, you own a restaurant, you own the employees too. And you're treated just like property. They feel like they want to throw you away, that's exactly what they'll do. And, the lesson behind that for me, this is an American thing. This is an American problem. Greed is present. Don't sit up there and tell me that no black folks get greedy when they get their hands on something. A lot of something, mainly money. Certain white folks are always like that since the beginning. They don't think about the consequences of other people. As long as they don't affect them, that's the mindset. Now, like I said, that leaked over to our people, and this is an American problem. It affects us all, whether we like it or not. So everybody got to fix this. Everybody can, at the end of the day, everybody can kind of get back to kind of just being to yourself. You don't have to be friendly with everybody. All right, you're not obligated to knock on everybody's door and just put on this fake smile. You don't necessarily have to do all that stuff. But when it actually comes down to it, and we need to help each other, do that. But all this foolishness that's going on right now, with the police and with the news media and all this drama, social media, that's why I'm not taking the time to even edit what I'm doing right now. I'm just outside. This is just my voice. You just listening to me. If you've been listening this whole time, I'm gonna tip my hat off to you. You must really want to hear what I had to say. And I'm not trying to be a negative person. I mean, I want all this to, all this drama stuff to go away. I don't like seeing all this politics and sports. It's hard for me to watch the NBA, even NFL. I'm trying to look forward to college football. I just want, like with this pandemic, all this stuff needs to, I'm just hoping all this stuff just finally go away. I just want to just get back to, being somewhat normal. This has been stressful for a lot of people. People lost their lives. I've already mentioned quite a few people. I feel bad for them. Even though I have criticized, by pretty much saying, hey, a lot of this stuff you've done to yourself. I'm not being specific when I say that, but let's just be straight up about it. Folks have either provoked a bad situation, all right, and therefore, bottom line, they didn't help the situation. And the most important thing between the officer and the citizen, I'm gonna say, both sides got to meet each other halfway. Both sides gotta. I'm gonna say this: both sides gotta be professional within themselves. You get pulled over, you know what to do, you know what not to do. Nobody should be saying, hey, I didn't know I was supposed to not resist arrest. You know better. All right. This is not saying, this is not going back to the days of slavery just because you're doing what the officer is asking you to do. There's a difference between being obedient to an officer, because you're not a dog, okay? You're not being obedient, but it's more like self-discipline. You know how to conduct yourself, okay? And as for an officer, I don't like the term, hey, follow my commands. It really should be follow my instructions. Giving instructions and giving commands are not the same thing. All right, officers should really apply that. Giving commands and giving instructions, they're two different things. Go look that up. They want to lump that and gloss over that like as if it's the exact same thing. But you should tell an individual because, yeah, you are talking mostly to grown men, sometimes older teens. How you talk to a person, that can set the tone. Nothing wrong with saying, hey, I need you to follow my instructions. You need to do this under the law. Simple. Yes, I said simple. It should be simple. Only if you make it simple. I should just reword that and just say make it easy for yourself. And if an officer give you instructions, yes, by law, you need to follow those instructions. Please do that, people. That's all, please do that. And just hopefully, as I head back inside, hopefully, y'all, we can finally move forward. I don't mean to hate on BLM too much because for a lot of people, it's actually giving them some kind of a purpose. So I will acknowledge that. But at the same time, though, BLM, Black lives do matter, but it's in the words of Donald Trump, which, no, I don't support that dude. He better not run for 2024. He better not run. Just being straight up, I don't need to see another 4 years of him. All right, y'all need to stand down, stand by, get out the way. Let them people branch out. Let them do their own thing. All right, y'all did y'all job, but it's time for y'all to just step away. Cause at this point, y'all not helping. I'm just being y'all not helping, y'all. Take it how you want to. As far as somebody, what they think about me with the whole, nobody ever called me a coon or Uncle Tom. For those who use that word too much, y'all need to read the book Uncle Tom's Cabin and see exactly what Uncle Tom really was about. Because Uncle Tom was actually the realest person as far as that character. Everybody like to celebrate the no snitching thing, right? Well, Uncle Tom, according to the book, if you ever read it, even read a part of it, when Uncle Tom allowed that female to basically escape, and the white guy was asking him, where did she go? And I'm overly simplifying this, by the way. Homeboy refused to give her away, her whereabouts. He refused, and he died keeping his word to save her life. That's one of the realest characters that should be. I think that book should be in a movie somewhere. For those who like to put your own people down, call them Uncle Toms and this and that. I hope y'all read that book. I know it's taking on its own meaning, but I don't even care for it. The whole coon thing. I don't really. I can care less about all that. I got a reason to hate white people, despite the fact I got a lot of white friends, just as much as a nice person. But when I say I got a reason to hate white people, it's really certain white people. White people who don't like me. You don't like me, I don't like you back. And it could just stay that way. I feel like you feel, that go for anybody. You don't like me, I don't like you back. And really, I might not even have time to not like you back. Because if you spend that much time hating on me, you're probably trying to be like me, or you're mad because you can't be like me. That's probably why you don't like me, because I'm not going to do nobody nothing for them to be hating on me anyway. That's just how I see it, how I feel. And it's whatever. That's been my attitude. For those who know me know, that's just how it goes. But, you know, hope everybody just kind of just chill. Just take a time out for 30 minutes. Take a time out for 30 minutes. You know, let this country just kind of settle itself in. You know, just maybe one day, you know, as for my people, we can finally actually really want to do something, move forward. Let's not follow all of this country's principles. The principles of this country is not, I'm talking about the original principles. You know, when I was mentioning about greed, when I was talking about, you know, all the lies that this country was built on, let's just live our truth, okay? Live our truth, move forward, be original. Let's do that. Until next time.